بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يسر إخوانكم بمسجد الواحدين بجزر البحر الكاريبي بالتعاون مع عدة مساجد في الولايات المتحدة أن يرحبوا بفضيلة الشيخ سالم بامخرز حفظه الله تعالى في هذا الدرس الخامس من دروس مسائل الجاهلية لشيخ الإسلام محمد بن عبد الوهاب رحمه الله تعالى. Wahideen Publications in the Caribbean, in conjunction with several masajid in the U.S., is pleased to have with us our noble Sheikh Salim bamkhraz, may Allah preserve him, in this fifth class in the explanation of the book, Sheikh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, may Allah have mercy upon him, entitled مسائل الجاهلية, or the matters of the days of ignorance. فليتفضل شيخنا مشكورا مأجورا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، نواصل درسنا مع إخواننا في مكتب الموحدين للدعوة في جنوب أمريكا والبحر الكاريبي، حفظ الله القائمين عليها. ودرسنا في كتاب مسائل الجاهلية للشيخ محمد بن عبد الوهاب التميمي النجدي رحمه الله تعالى. ودرسنا هذه الليلة يبدأ في المسألة الخامسة من مسائل الجاهلية التي خالف فيها أهل الجاهلية الإسلام، وجاء الإسلام يبين خطأها وفحشها وأبدلها بما جاء به القرآن والسنة من مسائل عظيمة في دين الله تعالى. قال الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى: المسألة الخامسة: إن من أكبر قواعدهم أي أهل الجاهلية الاغترار بالأكثر، ويحتجون به على صحة الشيء، ويستدلون على بطلان الشيء بغربته وقلة أهله، فأتاهم أي الإسلام بضد ذلك، أوضحه في غير موضع من القرآن. هذه المسألة التي ذكرها الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى هي مسألة أن أهل الجاهلية كانوا يعظمون الكثرة ويحتقرون القلة، فما كان عليه الأكثر عندهم هو الحق، وما كان عليه القلة عندهم هو الباطل. وهذا يخالف السنن الكونية والشرعية ممن استقرأ حال الأمم في كل العصور. وقد ذكر الله تعالى في كتابه العزيز أن الكثرة لا عبرة لها، وأن الذين يطيعون الكثرة ويعظمونها هم أهل ضلال، وهم أهل ظن وتخرص. قال تعالى في كتابه العزيز: وإن تطع أكثر من في الأرض يضلوك عن سبيل الله. انظر ماذا يقول الله تعالى: إن تطع وتدعن وتسير على نهج الأكثرية ممن يعيش على الأرض يضلوك عن سبيل الله، أي يغونك، يبعدونك عن دين الإسلام، عن الحق المبين الذي جاء به الإسلام. لماذا؟ قال الله تعالى: إن يتبعون إلا الظن وإن هم إلا يخرصون، بمعنى أن الأكثرية يتبعون الظنون ولا يتبعون الحق. وإنهم يتخرصون، يقولون أشياء مخالفة للحق الذي جاء به دين الله تعالى وشرع الله تعالى، وهم أهل ظنون وتخرصات، وليسوا أهل حق وشرع ودين، وإنما يتبعون أهواءهم وأفكارهم الضالة. ويقول الله تعالى في كتاب العزيز: ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون. انظر يا عبد الله، الله تعالى يبين أن العلم الحقيقي النافع لا يكون في الأكثر، وإنما يكون في من أخذ به وإن كانوا الأقل، لأنهم أخذوا بدين الله وأخذوا بالعلم النافع وهو كتاب الله وسنة رسوله. أما أكثر الناس الذين يخالفون دين الله وكتاب الله ورسول الله، هؤلاء لا يعلمون وإن كانوا أكثر، فلا عبرة لهم، وهم على ضلال على كثرتهم. وقال الله تعالى أيضا: وما وجدنا لأكثرهم من عهد وإن وجدنا أكثرهم لفاسقين. هذا بيان من الله تعالى أن الله تعالى عندما أرسل الأنبياء والرسل يدعون الناس إلى كتاب الله، إلى سنة الله، إلى عبادة الله، إلى توحيد الله تعالى. يقول الله تعالى أن أكثر الناس لا يصدقون بالأنبياء ولا يدينون بدين الله، مع أنه الحق. لماذا؟ لأنهم فساق، يحبون الفسق، يحبون الشهوات، يحبون الرذائل، يميلون إلى الجهل، وميزانهم ميزان باطل، لأنهم كلما نظروا إلى الأكثر من الناس وجدوهم على الفسق وعلى الضلال، قالوا هذا هو الحق. وما نظروا أن القلة هي على حق وعلى دين وعلى شريعة، استحضروهم لأنهم قليل، فمالوا إلى الكثرة على ضلالهم وفسقهم وشركهم، وهذا ميزان باطل. انظر نوح عليه السلام، مكث يدعو في قومه 1000 سنة إلا 50 عاما. من تبعه؟ يقول الله تعالى: وما آمن معه إلا قليل. أين الكثرة؟ الكثرة كفروا بنوح عليه السلام. وهكذا دعوة الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام، عندما بعثه الله تعالى في العرب في قريش، الأكثر ضلوا وعاندوا وكذبوا بالرسول وقالوا ساحر وقالوا مجنون وقالوا كذا وقالوا كذا وكذا. لما؟ قال أنهم أكثرهم فساق، أكثرهم على باطل، وما تبع النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام إلا القلة القليلة، واتبعوا دين الله واستقاموا. ولذلك قال الرسول: بدأ الإسلام غريبا، أي قليل أهله، والأكثر يعاندونه ويخالفونه. ثم قال: وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ، أي في آخر الزمان تجد الناس يميلون الأكثرية إلى الفساد وإلى الظلم وإلى الجور وإلى عبادة الهوى والشهوات، ويتركون الدين ولا يصير عليه إلا القليل القليل. قال تعالى: وما أكثر الناس ولو حرصت بمؤمنين. لا تتعب نفسك، دائما الأكثر هم أهل الباطل. وما أكثر الناس ولو حرصت يا محمد ومن تاب معك من أهل الإيمان على أن يكونوا هم الأكثر في دين الله، لا تجدهم كذلك. الأكثر يميلون إلى الباطل وما يسير على الحق إلا القليل ممن هداهم الله تعالى. والله المستعان. تفضل.
Allah Ta'ala began by, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate and most merciful, praising Him who is the Lord of everything in existence, and invoking His peace and blessings upon our Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, companions, and all those who follow their guidance until the day of resurrection. He then said that we are continuing our class with our brothers at Wahideen Publications in America and the Caribbean, and we ask Allah to bless those who are in charge of that organization. We have reached the 5th class and the 5th issue book we are studying, which is the book مسائل الجاهلية, Matters of the Days of Ignorance by Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab at-Tamimi al-Najdi rahimahullah ta'ala. And we are beginning the 5th matter in the book. And these matters are explaining the issues which the people of Jahiliyyah differed with Islam in, and the matters which Islam came to clarify their error in, and clarify how gravely mistaken they were, and to give them a better alternative in all of those heinous things that they were involved in. And we find these good alternatives in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger. In the 5th matter, the author of the treatise rahimahullah ta'ala said, one of the greatest principles of the people of Jahiliyyah is delusion with the majority, which they cite as proof for the truth of things. They claim that something being unknown and having few followers is proof of it being false. And Islam came to them with the opposite of this, as is clarified in several places of the Quran. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala said that this issue is something that the people of Jahiliyyah held in great esteem. Majority rules. They said that the majority always rules. They looked at the majority as something great, and they looked at minorities as being nothing. And so they considered everything that the majority was following to be the truth, and that everything that the minorities were following to be falsehood. And this principle, that majority rules, this is in direct contradiction to what history has proven throughout the history of mankind, and to what religion has proven throughout the history of mankind. Whoever reads the history of the nations of the earth throughout every day and time will find that the majority are always doing something wrong. And the good people are few and far between, hard to find. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that the majority is something which doesn't count whatsoever. Majority doesn't count. Because you always find the majority of people misguided and following falsehood. So Allah says, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مِنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّوكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you obey the majority of people on the face of the earth, they will lead you astray from the path of Allah. Meaning that if you follow in the footsteps of the majority of people, they are going to mislead you. They are going to take you away from the religion of your Lord. They will take you away from the truth which is clear. And why is that? Why will they take you away from the truth? Allah explains it after that. إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. Because they only follow doubts. They're only following doubt, not facts. The majority of the people are this way, following their doubts, their desires, not following the truth. And they say things which are in clear contradiction to the truth. So they are people of doubts, people of desires. They're not people of truth. They're not people of religion. The only thing that they are following is their lowly desires and their own intellects which are deficient. Allah says, وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But the majority of people do not know. Majority of people do not know the reality of knowledge which is beneficial. The real which is a benefit. Majority of people are unaware of this. The majority do not know what is good for them. They harm themselves and they harm others. That knowledge which is truly beneficial is the knowledge of revelation, the knowledge of the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the majority of people are in clear contradiction to these two sources. And so the majority is not to be taken as the scale by which we weigh what is true and what is not. The majority, in fact, doesn't count, because the majority of people are misguided. Allah says, وَمَا وَجَدْنَا لِأَكْثَرِهِمْ مِنْ عَهْدٍ وَإِنْ وَجَدْنَا أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَفَاسِقِينَ. We didn't find most of them holding true to their covenant. Rather, we found most of them rebellious and sinful. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His messengers, His prophets and messengers to mankind, to guide them, to teach them the truth, the majority of those people did not hold true following these messengers, holding true to their covenant of obeying these messengers. They rejected them. The majority of people rejected those who came for their benefit. The majority of the people do not believe in the prophets. They do not accept the religion of Allah. And the reason for this is because they are sinful people. They love to commit sins. They love doing lowly practices. And so the scale which they use to weigh truth from falsehood is mistaken. Majority is not the way we measure truth from falsehood. The majority of people are sinful people. It's only a small minority of people who follow the truth, who are righteous, who are upright. Just look at the story of Nuh alayhi salam. He stayed amongst his people 1,000 years minus 50. 950 years, giving da'wah to his people. Who followed him? How many people followed Nuh? What did Allah say? وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا الْقَلِيلُ. No one believed with him except a few, minority. The majority of people disbelieved in him. And the same was the case with Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The majority of the Arabs rejected him. And they called him a magician. They called him a madman. They called him this and that. They thought of every excuse in the book not to follow what he was teaching them, even though it was in their best interest. Because the majority of people are sinful. The majority of people are rebellious. The majority of people do not follow the truth. And so no one followed Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam except a small minority. Thus the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Islam began as something strange, and it will return to being something strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. The majority of people are oppressive. The majority of people follow their desires. And Allah says about the majority, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And the majority of people, even if you eagerly desire it, will not be believers. So the majority, they are following falsehood. Allah addressed His Prophet ﷺ, informing him that no matter how hard you try, the majority are not going to find guidance.
نعم.
تفضل شيخنا.
وانظروا يا عباد الله في أهل الأرض اليوم، هذا العالم وهذه الكرة الأرضية، انظروا من الأكثر عليها ممن يعيش على وجه الأرض من البشر. تجدون أن أكثر من على وجه الأرض هم أبعد الناس عن الإسلام وعن دين الله تعالى. إذا نظرنا في الكثافة السكانية على الأرض نجد أن بلاد الصين، بلاد الهند، وجنوب شرق آسيا من اليابان ومن الدول التي تعيش فيها وضم معهم بلاد الاتحاد السوفيتي، تجد هذه البلاد هي أكثر عدد السكان في العالم، وهم يعيشون ولا يعترفون بإله البتة، ملحدين لا يقرون بإله، وإنما يقولون هي الطبيعة، وهي الدنيا هكذا الطبيعة، نموت ونحيا، وإنما هي أرحام تدفع وأرض تبلع. ما يدينون بشيء من الدين أبدا، ملاحدة. كفروا بالله وكفروا بدين الإسلام وكفروا بوجود إله. ثم تعال بعدهم من يأتي؟ دول أوروبا وأمريكا والدول الأخرى الكافرة. على ماذا؟ من هم من العلمانيين اليوم أكثر، وقليل من اليهود ومن النصارى، وهم على باطل. فضم هؤلاء الملاحدة مع هؤلاء النصارى مع هؤلاء اليهود مع العلمانيين، تجد أنهم أكثر من يعيش على وجه الأرض اليوم من الكفرة. وأهل الإسلام ماذا؟ قليل جدا. بل انظر إلى أهل الإسلام ذاتهم، وانظر إلى فرق أهل الإسلام. الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام يقول إن هذه الأمة أمة الإسلام ستفترق على 73 فرقة كلها في النار إلا واحدة. من هم يا رسول الله؟ قال هم الجماعة، هم من كان على ما أنا عليه اليوم وأصحابي، هم أهل السنة والجماعة. انظر حتى أهل الإسلام الذين يدينون بالإسلام الأكثر فيهم من الضلال، من عبدة القبور، من عبدة الأضرحة، من التكفيريين، من أهل الباطل، من الذين ابتعدوا عن سنة الرسول وعن الدين الحق. ومع ذلك الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام يقول لا تزال طائفة من أمتي، أي قليل، طائفة من الأمة هم أقل القليل، لا تزال طائفة من أمتي قائمين على الحق إلى أن تقوم الساعة، لا يضرهم من خالفهم ولا من خذلهم. من هم؟ هم أهل السنة. وانظر إلى كلام الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام ماذا يقول. يقول الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام إنكم يا معشر أهل الإسلام، يا معشر أهل الجنة، أنتم في الأمم كالشعرة البيضاء في جلد الثور الأسود. انظر، شعرات بيضاء قليلة في جلد ثور كل شعره أسود. هذه الشعرات القليلة هم أهل الإسلام، والشعر الكثير كل جلد الثور كلهم من أهل الكفر. ويقول الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام أنه رأى الأمم فيما أري صلى الله عليه وسلم في حياته، فرأى النبي ومعه رهط الجماعة، يعني ما بين 3 و9. قال ورأى النبي ومعه رجلان، 2 بس، نبي، والنبي ومعه رجل واحد، والنبي وليس معه أحد. انظر، هؤلاء الأنبياء أرسلوا إلى أمم أعداد كبيرة، لكن ما يتبعهم إلا ماذا؟ قليل. نبي ليس معه إلا 9، نبي ليس معه إلا 2، نبي ليس معه إلا 1، نبي ليس معه إلا 1، نبي ليس معه أحد أبدا. وأكثر الأنبياء اتباعا هم محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام، أمة الإسلام الذين كانت خاتمة الرسل محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام وخاتم الأديان، هم أهل الإسلام. ومع ذلك هم أقل قليل. فأهل الجنة قليل وأهل النار كثير. لماذا؟ لأن أهل الباطل كثير، أهل الكفر، أهل الإلحاد، أهل الزندقة، أهل الفساد، أهل الظلم، أهل الاشتراء، الذين لا يقرون بالله تعالى، يعبدون غير الله تعالى، هم أكثر من يعيش على وجه الأرض. ولكن نقول أيها المسلم، أيها المؤمن، لا تبالي بالأكثرية، لا تبالي بالأكثرية. فإن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام بين أن الطائفة المنصورة هم قليل، هم غرباء، هم أهل الجنة. 73 فرقة من أهل الدول من أمة الإسلام واحدة تدخل الجنة، و72 فرقة يدخلون النار، ومنهم من ينجو إلى الجنة ومنهم من لا ينجو. فنسأل الله تعالى السلامة والعافية، وأن يثبتنا مع القلة الموحدة المسلمة التي تتبع القرآن والسنة وتقتدي بذلك حتى الممات، والله المستعان. نعم تفضل.
Shaykh Ta'ala continued saying, just look at the people on earth today. Who are the majority of the people on earth? When you look at all of humanity right now, who is the majority of the people? You'll find that the majority of people are the farthest away from the religion of Islam possible. If we look at the most densely populated countries on the face of the earth, China, Asia, Southeast Asia, Japan and the likes, the former Soviet Union, the majority of these people, the majority of the people of these countries, or the majority of the people on the earth, they don't even recognize a God whatsoever. They say that it's just nature, Mother Nature. It's just wombs that push out babies and the earth that they're buried in. Atheists, they don't even recognize a God whatsoever. They disbelieve in any deity. Who comes after them? They're number one. Who comes after them? The countries of Europe and America and so on and so forth. What's their religion? The majority of them are secularists. And a minority amongst them are Jews and Christians. So just take all of them, those secularists, Jews and Christians, and add them with the atheists that we've mentioned, and you will find that the majority of people on earth are indeed astray. The people of Islam are a small minority. And even when we come to the people of Islam, within the Ummah, there are different sects. As the Messenger ﷺ himself said, this Ummah will divide up into 73 sects. All of them will be in the hellfire except one. He was asked, what is that one saved sect? He said, it's al-Jama'ah, or it's the one who is following what I and my companions are upon today. And so even the people of Islam, amongst the people of Islam, who are a minority in comparison to the people of the earth, many of them are grave worshippers. Many of them are takfiris. Many of them have strayed, gone far away from the Sunnah of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there will remain a small group of people from my ummah standing for the truth until the hour is established, meaning the day of resurrection. They will not be harmed by those who differ with them or those who forsake them. So he said what? It will only be a small group of people who will remain on the truth until the day of resurrection. He also said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O people of Islam, you are only like one white hair on the body of an all-black bull. A bull that has a body full of black hairs, and this one white hair that can't hardly even be noticed. Prophet ﷺ said that the Muslims will be like this in comparison to the rest of humanity. And he said ﷺ that he once saw presented to him the nations and their prophets. And he said that he saw a prophet who only had a small group of followers with him, a rahb, which is between 3 and 9 people. And then he said he saw a prophet who only had 2 followers with him, 2 men. He saw another prophet who only had 1 follower with him, 1 man. and he saw a prophet who came and had absolutely no followers whatsoever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the messengers to nations of people, large numbers of people. The majority of them did not accept the message. Majority of the prophets and messengers were followed by minorities. And the prophet who has the most followers will be our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the seal of the prophets and messengers. And in spite of the fact that his nation is the one who has the most followers, in comparison to the rest of humanity, they will be few. And so the people of Jannah are few in number, whereas the people of the hellfire will be many. Today the people of atheism, the people of hypocrisy, the people who are on the path to fire, they're in the majority. So does majority always rule? Don't pay much attention to majority. It doesn't count for much at all. We look at the 73 sects of Islam, only one of them will enter Jannah. So we ask Allah to grant us safety and to make us from amongst the minority that follows the truth and worships Allah with Tawheed. And Allah is our help. Allah Shaykh.
ثم قال الشيخ رحمه الله تعالى: قال المسألة السادسة: الاحتجاج بالمتقدمين، أي أن أهل الجاهلية يحتجون بما عليه الأقدمون دون النظر إلى ما معهم وما كانوا عليه. قال الله تعالى: قال فما بال القرون الأولى. وقال تعالى: ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين. هكذا تقول الأمم الضالة منذ أن ضل الناس على وجه الأرض من بعد نوح. عاش الناس بعد آدم 10 قرون على دين الإسلام، وهؤلاء أصل البشرية. لما جاء أصحاب نوح الضلال وتركوا الإسلام وعبدوا الأصنام وعبدوا القبور وعظموها وأشركوا بالله، دخل عليهم الشيطان، جاء إليهم نوح عليه السلام ويدعوهم إلى الإسلام. قالوا: نحن مع آبائنا. من آباءكم؟ قالوا: آباءنا هؤلاء الذين جعلناهم أصنام ثم عبدنا صورهم. هذا باطل، ولذلك أنكر الله عليهم. قال تعالى: ما هذا إلا بشر. انظر ماذا يقولون على نوح، يذمون نوح ويتمسكون بما كان عليه آبائهم. يقولون: ما هذا نوح إلا بشر مثلكم يريد أن يتفضل عليكم، ولو شاء الله لأنزل ملائكة، ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين. انظر، ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا، يعني آبائنا اللي قبل ما نقدرت عليهم ملائكة، بشر، احنا ما نستقبل البشر، ونحن على دين آبائنا. آبائنا ورثونا هذا الدين، نعبد أصنام، نعبد حجارة، هذا عندنا على عهد عاداتنا وعلى آبائنا نسير عليه. وردوا رسول الله ونبي الله وما معه من أدلة في توحيد الله، أبوا وتكبروا. وهكذا جاء بعدهم فرعون، جاء إليه موسى مع هارون يدعونه إلى توحيد الله تعالى وإلى عدم ادعاء الألوهية، وأن الله هو الرب وهو الخالق وهو الإله الذي يعبد. انظر ماذا قال، يحتج فرعون يقول: فما بال القرون الأولى، أي الذين قبلنا، إيش بالهم؟ مش كانوا علي مثلي أنا؟ هذا رجل ضال يستدل بالقرون الجاهلة الأولية التي ما عرفت إله وضلت عن طريق الحق، فيجعل الأقدمون والآباء والأجداد هم الاعتماد وهم القدوة. هذا نبي جاء من الله، رسول يوحى عليه، ما يتبعونه، يتبعون ما كان عليه الآباء. وهكذا الذين جاء عليهم إبراهيم عليه السلام ومنهم أبوه يعبدون الأصنام حجارة ويتعذرون هذا كان دين آبائهم، ونوح وإبراهيم تبرأ منهم. لقد كان لكم أسوة في إبراهيم والذين كانوا معه إذ قالوا لقومهم إنا براء منكم ومما تعبدون كفرنا بكم وبدا بيننا وبينكم العداوة والبغضاء حتى تؤمنوا بالله وحده. انظر، وهم يتبعون الآباء والأجداد. وجاء الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام في قريش ودعاهم إلى الإيمان ودعاهم إلى التوحيد ودعاهم إلى الخير العظيم، وأنزل الله عليه كتاب وسنة. ماذا قالوا؟ انظر ماذا قال الله عنهم. قال الله عنهم قالوا ما سمعنا بهذا في الملة الآخرة الذين قبلنا إن هذا إلا اختلاف، يعني شيء جديد هذا. نحن نتبع من كان قبلنا من الأولين، ما الأولين ما جوا بهذا عندنا. إن هذا اختلاف، هذا شيء جديد، نحن ما نبغى شيء جديد، نبغى على ما كان عليه الآباء. ما سمعنا بهذا، ضلال في ضلال، يتبعون الضلال الذي مضى عليه الضلال. الذي جاء بمحمد يقول هذا جديد، ما سمعنا بهذا في الملة الآخرة أي من كان قبلنا إن هذا الاختلاق. وهكذا جميع أهل الكفر في كل موضع. ذات مرة التقيت برجل من الهنود الذين يعبدون البقر، قلت يا أخي يا أخانا الآدمية، نحن وأنت أبناء آدم، كيف تعبد بقر؟ هذا نبينا محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام دعانا إلى عبادة الله وخالقنا ورازقنا وكذا وكذا وكذا. قال أنا أعلم أن أنتم على حق، لكن أنا آبائي وأجدادي وآبائهم يعبدون البقر، أنا ما أستطيع أترك آبائي. يا أخي يذهبون النار، قال أنا أذهب معهم. اتق الله، قال لا أنا مثل آبائي أسير على نهج آبائي. انظر إلى الضلال العظيم. واسأل اليوم ممن حولكم من النصارى أو اليهود، قل هذا دين الإسلام، تعال يقول لك لا الآباء، أبوي وجدي وجدتي كانوا كلهم من النصارى من اليهود، أنا أتبعهم. ولذلك الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام ماذا يقول؟ فأبواه يهودانه وينصرانه يهلك. وإنما تتبع الرسل الأنبياء الدين الحق. وانظر إلى بلاد الإسلام اليوم من الصوفية، من عبدة القبور، من عبدة الأضرحة، ماذا يقولون؟ من أهل البدع يقول آباءنا كانوا هكذا، آباءنا. طيب هذا دين الله، هذا رسول الله، هذا يقول لا هذا رسول الله نحن نتبعه لكن على ما كان عليه. ماذا كان عليه آباءنا؟ كانوا على مولد وعلى زيارة قبور وعلى كذا، هؤلاء شفعانا، هذا ينفعونا، هذا يضرون، هذا كذا، هذا كذا، هذا وسطاء لنا عند الله. وتركوا الدين الحق الذي جاء به الرسول وابتدعوا في دين الله تعالى. فإياك أيها المسلم أن تقتر بما كان عليه الآباء. انظر إلى نفسك وموضعك، أين أنت من خالقك ومالك أمرك ورازقك والذي أمرك بالعبادة. وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبد. فتمسك بدين الله وبدين الإسلام، وإياك وإن عاندك أبوك وجدك وكفروا لا تكفر معهم، واعلم أن الأمر دين وليس عادات وتقاليد. بارك الله فيكم. نعم.
So the Sheikh continued saying that this brings us to the sixth matter of the treatise, which Allah said, that they, meaning the people of Jahiliyyah, use as arguments the people of the times of old, as in the following statements of Allah. Allah said that they say, what about the generations of old? We said, never did we hear such a thing among our forefathers. And so, the author rahimahullah is explaining that the people in Jahiliyyah, they paid less attention to what they were following than they did who was following. If they were following those who came before them, their fathers and their forefathers, then that was sufficient for them. And they didn't look at the content of what they were following. Was it something true or not? And so this was the way of the people of Jahiliyyah. This is the way of the misguided nations. From the time after our father Adam alayhi salam, people lived for 10 generations, all following Islam. There was no shirk. And then, after 10 generations, the people of Nuh were the first ones to invent shirk. And Shaitan came to them and tricked them. They began to worship graves. And so Nuh alayhi salam came to them, inviting them to Islam. And what was their response? They said, this is what we found our forefathers doing. And so Allah refuted them. They said about Nuh alayhi salam, مَا هَذَا إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. This is only a human being like you. يُرِيدُ أَن يَتَفَضَّلَ عَلَيْكُمْ. He wants to be better than you. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَأَنزَلَ مَلَائِكَةً. And if Allah wished, He would have sent down angels. مَا سَمِعْنَا بِهَذَا فِي آبَائِنَا الْأَوَّلِينَ. We didn't hear of anything like this amongst our forefathers. And so this was an argument in the times of Jahiliyyah. People just follow what they found their father, their grandfather, and their great-grandfather following, regardless of how misguided their forefathers were. They found their forefathers worshipping rocks and idols, and they do the same thing. And so this is what the people of Nuh did. After that, look at the example of Fir'aun. He was doing the same thing. Musa and Harun alayhi salam came to him, inviting him to Tawheed. And what was his reply? What was the argument that he put forth to reject the message of Allah? He said, فَمَا بَالُ الْقُرُونِ الْأُولَى. What about the generations of old? He's saying, how about all the people that came before that were, following this religion of mine? They couldn't have all been wrong. That's what he's saying. You're saying that what I'm following, my way of life, my religion is wrong, whereas lots of people before me followed it. They couldn't have all been wrong. This is misguidance. This is misguidance. Citing that people in the past have followed a certain way and saying this is proof that it's a good way to live, that it's a good way to believe. This is the way of the people of Jahiliyyah, and Islam came to teach us the opposite. And it's not about what our forefathers were following. It's about what Allah revealed to us on the tongues of His messengers and showed us what to follow. And so he was using as proof, he was citing as proof, Fir'aun that is, citing as proof to try to justify his misguided religion that people before him had practiced it, that his forefathers done the same thing. And so he took them as his example, as his role model, instead of the prophets and messengers that were sent to guide him. The same was the case with the people of Ibrahim alayhi salam, even his father. They worshipped idols, they worshipped rocks, and so he declared his innocence of them. He totally disassociated himself from his people. Allah says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. You indeed had a good role model in Ibrahim and those who were with him. إِذْ قَالُوا لِقَوْمِهِمْ إِنَّا بُرَآءُ مِنْكُمْ. When they said to their people, indeed, we are free from you. We are innocent of you. وَمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. And that which you worship aside from Allah. وَبَدَا بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةُ وَالْبَغْضَاءُ أَبَدًا. And there has began between us and you animosity, and it shall continue forever. حَتَّى تَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ وَحْدَهُ. Until you believe in and worship Allah alone. As long as you keep worshiping your false deities and you refuse to recognize your Lord and Creator and worship Him and Him alone, we're not friends, we're enemies. This is what Ibrahim and those who were with him said to their people. So the majority of people, you will find, as was the practice in Jahiliyyah, they simply follow what they found their father, grandfather, and great-grandfather following, without paying any attention to how misguided, how corrupt, how immoral, how evil that lifestyle may have been. Allah's Rasul came to his people, Quraysh, calling them to guidance. What did they say? He said, مَا سَمِعْنَا بِهَذَا فِي الْمِلَّةِ الْآخِرَةِ إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا اخْتِلَافٌ. We didn't hear about this in the religion of old. This is just something newly invented. They didn't want to hear anything new. They just wanted to follow what they had seen practiced before. And this is the way of all of the people of Kufr. That they always cite as proof to claim the validity of their religion that it's been practiced before. The Shaykh said that he once met a Hindu man. He once met a Hindu man, and he said to him, hey bro, and he meant brother, like we're both sons of Adam. He said, hey brother, meaning you are a son of Adam and I am a son of Adam. He's my father and your father. He said to him, how could you possibly worship a cow? How could you worship a cow? He said, here, this is the religion of Islam. Listen to Islam. This is what, you have a Lord. Worship your Lord. Don't worship this animal. It's not even as good as you. And what was the man's reply? He said, I know that you all, Muslims, this Hindu man said, I know that what you are following is the truth. He said that I know Islam is the truth. But my father followed this way of life. I'm not going to betray him. Sheikh said to him, your father is going to the hellfire. He said, I know, I will go along with him. And so, look at the people who are around you. Ask them why they follow what they follow. They will say, because I found my father following, my grandfather. And thus the Messenger ﷺ said that every child is born upon the natural disposition, monotheism, but it's his parents who make him a Jew or a Christian. And so, the same is the case even throughout the Islamic world. In Muslim countries, you will find Sufi sects, you will find grave worshippers, and what do they cite as proof? Once you confront them about how misguided they are, they say, this is what my father did. This is what my grandfather did. When you ask them why they celebrate the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ, even though this is nowhere in the Sunnah, my father did it. Why do you set up intermediaries and worship things instead of making dua to Allah directly? You worship some saint or someone else, asking him to take your prayers to Allah. He said, I found my father doing it. And so you must beware. You must beware of following what your forefathers followed. Don't make that the scale by which you weigh what's true. If my father found it, it must be true. Make the revelation, what Allah told you, what Allah sent His messenger to show you is the truth. Make that your criterion for what's true and false. Allah says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have created jinn and humankind for no purpose other than worshipping me. Make this your mission in life, holding close, holding tight to your deen. Even if you have to go against your father and grandfather, even if they show animosity to you because of you holding tight to your religion and worshiping your Lord, don't let go of it. Don't follow them if what they are following is not what your Lord created you to do. تفضل شيخنا.
فاعلموا يا عباد الله أن الدين والتدين ليس عادات وتقاليد وميراث أجداد وآباء، كلا والله، هذا باطل، وهذه قاعدة جاهلية. الذي يقول نحن نريد مع آبائنا ولو في جهنم هذا جاهل. إنما الدين شرع من الله وأمر من الله، فالله تعالى أرسل إلينا رسل يبينون لنا أن الدين هو ما شرعه الله تعالى وما دعا الأمة إليه، وهو الإقرار لله تعالى بالعبودية، لأنه هو الخالق الرازق المالك الذي لا يعبد سواه، وأن كل من عبد سوى الله تعالى فهو على باطل، وإن كان أجداده وآباءه ومن قبله على ذلك فهو باطل في باطل. وما أضاع الناس وأوقلهم في الجاهلية والكفر والشرك إلا التعلق بالعادات والتقاليد ودين الآباء. انظروا يا رعاكم الله الآن حال الرافضة. أنتم تعرفون أن ضعر الرافضة هو إيران. انظر هذه الدولة وهذه الفئة على قلتها بين المسلمين كيف تحارب أهل السنة، بل أنهم ادعوا أن الرسالة التي نزل بها جبريل على محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام قالوا أنها خطأ، وأن جبريل أرسل إلى علي، ولكنه حرف الرسالة وأودى بها إلى محمد. كلام باطل. ثم يقولون أن علي هو الأولى بأن يكون بعد محمد، ويردون خلافة أبو بكر وخلافة عمر وخلافة عثمان. لماذا يفعلون هذا؟ بارك الله فيكم. اسألوا أنفسكم لماذا يصرون على هذا الباطل وينادون بأن علي هو الذي ينبغي أن يكون نبي. هؤلاء القوم عندهم تعصب، يريدون أن يعيدوا عبادة النار التي كانت في فارس عندما كان الفرس يعبدون النار ولا يعبدون الله تعالى، فأرسل الله دين الله وأرسل محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام فنشر دين الإسلام في الجزيرة العربية، ثم خلفه أبو بكر ثم عمر الذي حطم دولة فارس وقضى على عبادة النار وأدخلهم دين الإسلام، فحقدوا على عمر وعلى دين الإسلام جميعا. ثم أنه في عهد عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه دخلت فارس في بلاد الإسلام، فكان من السبايا وممن جاءوا بهم من النساء الأسرى كان منهم ابنة حاكم الفرس في ذلك الزمان أنوشروان، ومن بنات الملوك من عبدة النار. فعمر رضي الله تعالى عنه أعطاها للحسين، ملكها الحسين من السبايا، فالحسين تزوجها وأنجبت له أولاد. ولذلك صار الرافضة الذين هم من إيران يحبون الحسين ما يحبون الحسن، لأن الحسين أبناءه أمهم من فارس من عبدة النار. تعصب لهذا النسل الشريف عندهم وإعبادة النار، فهم يسعون إلى تحطيم دولة الإسلام والقضاء على السنة حتى يعيدوا عبادة النار التي كان عليها أجدادهم. انظر ماذا يفعلون الآن في دولة الإسلام. يحاربون في الشام، في سوريا ضد أهل السنة، يحاربون في العراق ضد أهل السنة، يحاربون في اليمن ضد أهل السنة، بل يريدون يحتلوا جزيرة العرب، يحاربون أيضا في لبنان ضد أهل السنة. الآن دخلوا الجزائر يحاربون، ودخلوا ليبيا، ودخلوا مصر، يريدون يحاربون، يقضون على السنة، يقضون على الإسلام. لماذا؟ يريدون أن يعيدون أمجاد الفرس ويحتلون بلاد الإسلام وهم يتعاونون مع اليهود، مع النصارى، مع الدول الكبرى للإضعاف بدولة الإسلام حتى لا تقوم لها قائمة. لماذا كل ذلك؟ لأنهم يريدون أن يعيدون أمجاد آبائهم الذين كانوا على الضلال، كانوا يعبدون النار. كل هذا دفعهم إلى أن يتخلوا عن الإسلام وعن دين الله وعن كتاب الله، حتى قالوا القرآن هذا محرف، ما يعترفون بالقرآن، ويسبون الصحابة ويكفرونهم ويلعنونهم. لما هذا كله؟ للتعصب لأجدادهم ولآبائهم. فاحذروا يا عباد الله من الضلال ومن التعصب بما كان عليه الآباء، فإنه يفقدكم الدين الإسلام قليل 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 حتى تصبح كافر، حتى تصبح ما عندك دين إلا دين الآباء والأجداد، فتنخلع من الإسلام. وهكذا فعل اليهود ويفعلون الآن اليهود الذي في إسرائيل وفي غيرها، هؤلاء يهود صهاينة. لما يتمسكون؟ لأنهم يحطمون بيت المقدس ويعيدون من أمجاد، يقولوا أجدادنا من اليهود، وهيكل مش عارف من. كل هذا تعصب للأجداد. تركوا ما أنزل الله به موسى من التوراة وبشر به بعيسى، وجاء عيسى وبشر بمحمد، وكانوا أيضا يقولون نحن إذا ضرب محمد سنتبعه، لكن يريدون أن يكون محمد منهم. فلما لم يكن منهم تركوا محمد وكفروا به وآمنوا بما كان عليه من الضلال ومن الدين الذي قد مسخ، وجاء بعد الإسلام يزيله. لكن التعصب للآباء وما كان عليه الأجداد وما كان عليه من قبلنا تعصب أعمى، تركوا عبادة الله تعالى ودين الله فكفروا. ونسأل الله السلامة والعافية، وأن يحفظ لنا ديننا ويميتنا عليه، إنه ولذلك القادر عليه. وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. تفضلوا.
Shaykh Ta'ala continued saying, no, that religion is not simply customs. Religion is not simply things that are passed down from our forefathers. This is something false. And this is a principle which the people of Jahiliyah took, that whatever we inherit from our forefathers, this is our way of life, this is our belief, this is our creed. What the religion is and what people should follow is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, and what He sent His messengers with, what He commanded the people to follow. This is what people should take as their religion, not simply what they have inherited from their forefathers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us messengers to show us the truth from falsehood. And He legislated through them that we are to serve Him, that we are to worship Him and Him alone, that He is the only creator, the only provider, the only sustainer, the king of the universe, and therefore He should be worshipped alone. Whatever He legislates for us should be our religion, not what we take and inherit from our forefathers. This is a false principle, that whatever I learned from my father and grandfather, this is my way of life, this is my creed, this is my religion, regardless of how evil and immoral it may be. It is by following this principle that whatever my father and grandfather's religion is, then that's my religion. This is what put the majority of people into the darkness, took them out of the light and into the darkness, leaving them totally blind. Just look at the situation of the Rafidah, and the basis of their religion in the world is Iran. In spite of the fact that they are a small minority amongst the Muslims, they are fighting against the people of the Sunnah throughout the world. And they claim that the message given to Muhammad ﷺ has been changed, and that it was a mistake to begin with, that Jibreel was supposed to send down the revelation to Ali, but he didn't do his job correctly, and he sent it to someone else instead. And this couldn't be farther from the truth. This false speech. Then they went on to say that once the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ died, that Ali was the most deserving of people of taking control of the Muslim world, that he should have been the Khalifa after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and therefore they reject the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman radiyallahu anhu ajma'in. Just ask yourself, why are they so insistent upon this point? What is it that pushes them to do this? Do they have any verse from the Book of Allah? Do they have any hadith from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that they cite as proof for these false beliefs? Or are they simply holding on to what their forefathers, what they inherited from their forefathers? Because they're bigots and they want to return. They want to return to going back to the way that their forefathers were. What is their way of life? What was their forefathers? What is it? Who are they? Where do they come from? They came from the Persian people. They're Persian people. They're proud of this lineage. They are racist. And they want to go back to what the Persian people were doing before the time of Islam, which is what? Worshipping the fire. Not worshipping Allah, worshipping the fire. They want to return to doing this. They want to slip away from Islam and go back to worshipping the fire. And so, when Islam came and spread throughout the earth, and the Persian Empire was one of the superpowers of the world at that time, and Islam overtook that empire during the Khilafah of Umar radiyallahu anhu. And it was at that time that when the Persian Empire was conquered, and some of the women of the empire were taken as captives. One of the women who was taken captive was the daughter of the king of the Persian Empire. And so, she was given, Umar radiallahu anh, gave her to Al-Hussein. And Al-Hussein married her. And she bore several children to him. This is why the Rafida love Hussein and they hate Al-Hassan. Because the children that trace back to the lineage of Hussein, they have a Persian mother. And this confirms their racist, bigot mentality of loving everything Persian and hating everything that's Arab. And so, really, the reality of what they are is not that they want to search after the truth. They just want to go back to what they found their forefathers following. Whatever they found their forefathers following, this is their truth. This is their religion. They want to go back to that. And this is why you find them fighting against the people of Islam throughout the earth. They're fighting against the Muslims in Syria. They're fighting against the people of the Sunnah in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Egypt, in Libya, in Lebanon. They even want to take over the land of the two holy mosques. And they are cooperating with the Jews in the path of this cause in order to try to take down Islam and go back to that Persian Empire that they found their forefathers following. They want to return to the religion of their forefathers. They even said that the Quran has been tampered with. It's no longer authentic. They curse and insult the companions of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So beware of them. Beware of their misguidance. Beware of their bigotry. Beware of how they only want to go back to what they found their forefathers following. It is by taking this methodology, by loving what one found his father and grandfather practicing, regardless of whether or not it coincides with what Allah Azza wa Jal sent His messengers to teach people. This methodology is something that, little by little, leads a person into disbelief. Beware of this. Beware of bigotry towards your relative's way of life. This is precisely what caused the Jews to do the atrocious acts that they have done. The ones who are in Israel, the Zionists, they want to destroy the holy masjid there, claiming that they want to return the glory of their forefathers. This is what they want. They left alone what Allah revealed to them in their own book, in the Torah, and what Isa ﷺ gave glad tidings of, which was the coming of Muhammad ﷺ. And because Muhammad ﷺ was not from their lineage, not from their forefathers, because they are likewise racists and bigots, they rejected him. This is what caused them to reject him. Lineage. Holding on to being bigoted towards one's forefathers. And so this is from the ways of Jahiliyyah. This is from the ways of the disbelievers in the pre-Islamic days, ignorance. And this is what Islam came to change and teach. It's totally wrong. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us hold tight to it and to make us from amongst those who follow what He revealed and not what our fathers claimed us if it was against what He revealed. Allah Sheikhna.
ننتهي هنا إن شاء الله. بارك الله فيكم. جزاكم الله خير. حفظكم الله تعالى. إذا نسأل إن شاء الله.
طيب الله يحفظك يا شيخنا.
حياكم الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.